Hey everybody, welcome to Pale in Comparison, a proud member of the Doof Network. In this podcast, my sister uses her knowledge of the Otherverse to take a look at Pact, the only wild web serial shorter than the Bible, and I try to not give away any spoilers. I'm Jenny, and Malia convinced me to read Worm.
I'm Malia, and Jenny convinced me to read everything else. This episode, we are covering Subordination, chapters 6.3 and 6.4. Before we get into that, however, I'd like to issue a spoiler warning. This podcast is filled with pale spoilers. If you don't know who becomes the Lord of Toronto in the year of our Lord 2020 and don't want us to tell you, stop now, read Pale, and come back to this podcast. As for Pact, there will be full spoilers through the chapters we are covering.
I just have to say I'm pretty happy that I didn't stumble too much over that new catchphrase, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that was good. When you started saying something different, I was like, what?
I know, like, what? Yeah. It still feels wrong, but...
A little bit.
All right, so basic chapter summary here. Blake heads to Conquest Tower and meets everyone involved with the upcoming conflict. Blake and Conquest choose their champions. What did you think of these chapters, Malia?
The first time I read them, I was very stressed. And then the second time I read them, I was much more like excited, just kind of like, ooh. And I found things like a lot funnier. And I'm just sort of like, yeah, I'm excited, as opposed to just like, what the fuck? But yeah.
Did you predict any of this happening?
No.
I'm going to say no. I mean, yeah. No.
I anticipated very little of this. Except, I mean, like, they were like, oh, everyone's going to be, like, there outside of the tower or whatever. But that wasn't me predicting. That was just literally, like, they mentioned it. So,
I mean,
no.
So, no. That's okay. That is fine. All right. So, Nick and Blake hold a crash course on magic shenanigans. And they strategize.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The first sentence of this chapter, power comes with a price. It was like, yeah. Accurate. Good lesson. Good lesson. I thought the way that like Nick thinks about it, like capitalism and business, and Rose is like science and like math, and Blake is like art. Like I think the ways they think of the practice and its systems are really interesting. And I'm curious as to like, I don't know, how other people think of it, like which one is more right, because I think they all have like upsides and downsides. Blake thinking that it's bullshit. And like confidence, Rose thinking that it has an internal logic, which I think it does. And if you don't understand that logic, it really fucks you. And then Nick is like, I don't know. For Nick, it's almost like I'm playing this safe and I'm just gonna like invest or avoid risk or whatever in like different ways. And I liked how those different conceptions of the practice were all in this chapter. But it was really, it was interesting where he's just like, yes, like the debt and the just a whole bunch of business terms real fast.
Yeah.
But yeah. One of the first things I noticed was like, why is Tiffany not there? And then in the next chapter too, she like doesn't do or say anything. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like
yeah, because I thought she was in like following in like a different car.
Right. Me too. I was like, that's weird that you took those two and not Tiffany, but like plot reasons. And like a lesser writer, I would be like, oh, it's just like too complicated of a scene. Like, let's cut one of these characters out. It's fine. But like Wildbow can handle, you know, and it really wouldn't have been too hard to just like Alexis isn't. There aren't a ton of lines dedicated to Alexis in this, but you know, she's there. You check up on her. She gets some characterization, and it wouldn't have been that hard to just be like, you know, Tiffany was wide-eyed and also silent, which I was grateful for. Like, done. Like, I don't understand. Like, surely they could have all smushed into the truck, the three of them in the back or whatever. Like, it feels like this was intentional and I don't understand.
I don't know. What if she got ate by the
Well, then we wouldn't know she existed and we wouldn't have gone back and been like, Tiff's back at the place.
If that theory is correct.
No, it's not a theory. It's just how it works.
I don't know. I mean...
but
maybe she got ate by, well, okay, maybe she didn't get eaten, but maybe she's took her own car, or maybe she decided to walk, or maybe.
Yeah, but it was like she's back getting lessons. I'm like, why aren't you all back getting? I don't know. I just want to know what that conversation was. Like, was it like Tiffany was like, I don't want to go, I'll stay here? Or was it like, hey, Tiffany, like, we're gonna go, bye? Like,
Yeah. I mean, frankly,
so
like,
weird.
it's a little smarter, I feel like, to have at least one of them get a little bit more lessons, if possible. I mean, maybe Blake just felt like he needed his two, like, OG friends to, like, back him up for this.
I guess. I mean, a lot of me is just like they seem to have influenced possible strategies and like thinking whatever's on the part of some of these people, but like so far it doesn't feel like anything would have super changed.
You mean like
if they hadn't been awakened and if they weren't there?
I think a lot of it is like it feels right to Blake though, right? And it's helping him like recharge himself. And I feel like that's kind of huge for him because he doesn't have a lot. Big. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's part of why like it wasn't as important for Tiffany to be there, just because she's a friend, but she's a relatively new friend.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas like, you know, he's going to go talk to Conquest. He kind of needs like a little bit extra like boost and something. And Self is something that like he really needs more of, you know.
That's true.
That's kind of what I figured, but
yeah.
And I mean, it's like, you know, sure, what are Ty and, you know, Alexa's going to do? Nothing besides that, but, you know, Tiffany's not going to do anything either, so might as well try to do more prep in other ways, you know?
Yeah, maybe that might be what's happening. I don't know, felt weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but then so Evan is just like really fucking funny.
Yeah.
All the time, and it's really good. It's just like he's almost like Olaf from Frozen. I feel like Olaf would just say shit and it was like, you're not supposed to say that out loud. But he's
that is not a comparison that I would have thought, but I mean, you know what? It is Disney related, so
well, just when like, you know, the whole don't lie, Alexis, and like blah blah blah, which by the way, like Blake needs to learn how to explain this better. Because don't lie means something very different than what it means in this context.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what you believe is true. Like, it's about like objective truth. Yeah. So it's about not saying things that might be wrong. And so like, and it's funny that he's like, don't say shit on me, Tyler, because like, I bet that's a rule. I think that's a rule of discourse it's totally fine. And also, like, I feel like shit on me is like...
That's not saying, like a fact.
It's like, fuck me. Like, right, it's like, fuck me is not saying, like... It's like telling someone to fuck you. It's not... There's no objective whatever. Like, he's not saying there's currently shit on me. He's saying shit on me, but also, it's rule of discourse and it's fine.
I mean,
and
Blake is just
new
like, by the way, Blake. Too,
but, like, somebody should be like, by the way, Blake, it's fine.
That's true, but
like, you got the
he's technically like newer than both of us, you know, to this world.
Oh, totally.
Like even in terms of like book length, like I mean, the story hasn't been going on for that long. Yeah, like it hasn't been going on for that long. But like we have a much better grasp of like that kind of shit than
that's fair,
you know. But I mean, you're not wrong, but just to.
Yeah, but back to Evan. So like Alexis is like, you lied to me, blah blah blah, and then when they resolve that conversation, he just out loud to everyone is like, she understands, but she's still mad. I'm like, she's right there. What is happening?
I love it.
But also, this is fucking funny, and it's like it just like very Olaf, like, hi Sven, like, and just I don't know, like not quite getting it.
I took it to more as
being awkward.
I took it to more as where he's like, what? Like, she gets it and she's still mad at you? And I felt like he was just sticking up for his boy, you know? More than, like, not getting it. And that's why Blake was like, we don't have time to get into this right now. I felt like he was like, really? Like, you're still mad? Like, or she's like, I'm just disappointed. It's like, but you understand. That's how I took it. It's like, you motherfucker. Like, you understand, but you're just being disappointed because you're being a dick, you know?
Yes, you know, I very much took it as like I don't understand adults like way, and not a like challenging her way. But that's interesting.
I mean, you may very much be right, but I thought it was funnier / more satisfying to be like, yeah, Evan, you stick up for Blake.
I love when Evan sticks up for Blake, but I also feel like Alexis is entitled to her own emotions, and also
there's nothing
she's
that
allowed
says
to be upset about this.
Okay, I mean, me saying that that's Evan's sticking up for her is good. Doesn't take that away, though.
But Evan saying like, "Oh, why are you still mad?" Like,
so
I don't know. She's allowed to be mad. Her madness is very valid.
Sure, but he's allowed to ask about it too, because he's sticking up for him. Right.
I mean, he didn't ask her about it. He comments to Blake.
But I think like I don't know. For me, like him saying out loud is explicitly like on purpose to me.
Sure, maybe.
Because like, yeah, she understands, but she's still mad, and that he explicitly is like, Evan, it's cool. Subject handled. And then she's like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And he's like, but you understand why he did it? Evan asked. Evan, I said, yeah, I understand. But Evan started, Evan, we don't have a lot of time. Drop it, please. And he's like, okay. So I just took it as more of a, I don't know. I realize I read out loud the exact same thing that you read, but that's what I took it as. I don't think that says, it's not saying Alexis isn't allowed to be angry or anything. It's just saying that, like, to me, Evan is sticking up for Blake, and I like it.
Yeah, I like when Evan sticks up for Blake.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely be like, have a lot of conflicting negative emotions. Yeah, if I were in Alexis or Ty's shoes, for sure. But so, like, I'm not saying that that's not valid. But
yeah, no, it's fine. It's just sort of, yeah, Evan's funny.
Yes.
Yeah, it's I like how Nick will like address things to Blake and say like things to him about what he should be doing or whatever, and he's like, you're supposed to be helping them figure this all out, not me. And it's like, Blake, like, there's a reason that he's giving the lesson and you're not. Like, there's a reason that you asked him to give the lesson and not you. And part of that might be that you're tired or whatever, but you're interjecting enough that it's like, it's because he knows more reliable information, and maybe you should listen to like somebody trying to teach you something.
Yeah. Like, you may know slightly more than your friends, but yeah. You should not be the one giving the lessons. Especially like with your shitty karma, it's more likely that that's going to go wrong somehow, or they're going to misunderstand stuff.
Right. But also, like, Blake, you need lessons.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Leonard is there and never mentioned again, but I was happy that he was there. I'm assuming, yeah, there's just a like, oh yeah, he's still around. And he marked a hammer with a wind rune, which was funny because he can't lift things and also wind runes. Yes. And I hope we get June back because I miss her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they start talking about the different major rituals, and they start talking about implements, and I like that that Ty and Blake both know what Alexis is talking about, that she's talking about like her tattoo gun thing. Like that's a nice indicator of their friendship and everything. And feels like, I don't know, I liked that moment a lot. But it was interesting thinking about like what would the tattoo gun do.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like that does have a lot of potential to be pretty cool because it's got a lot of history behind it. And yeah, just like helps you be more artistic, and like you made a note saying you'd make a permanent mark on people, which I think, yeah, in more ways than one, that makes sense.
Yeah, to me that feels like the biggest aspect of tattooing is that your practice would be more permanent or something harder to undo.
True.
Which like is bad if you make mistakes, but cool if you don't.
Can you imagine like what would the karmic like what would the like karmic equivalent be of like a no regrets situation? You know?
Well, I mean, I almost think just, yeah, in terms of like, I mean, I guess though, for like if Lucy or Verona or something draws a diagram and it's wrong, like they're also fucked. But there might be situations where she
can do a tattoo cover up and
yeah, but like just her practice maybe would be harder to undo.
Sure.
Which is interesting.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, I also thought she was going to pick her teeth when they were like, I know what she's going to do, and I was like, oh, her teeth.
But
yeah,
I mean, that is something that sticks with you. Like literally your teeth.
But I mean, I don't know what they would do as implements, so maybe she could talk better. I don't know. Chew better.
It's very literal. Talking, I don't know if teeth would help you talk better. That'd be more like your tongue.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we could look into that.
That's what teeth
and think
do.
into that
I don't
more
know.
if we. They do help you chew things. Help bite things.
Yeah, or maybe they'd also help with like charisma, like your smile or whatever.
True. That'd be a weird implement.
It'd be a really weird implement.
It'd be pretty weird. I mean, what do you do with that, really? Like, you take your teeth out and like mark. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of you creative folks can think of some great things for teeth implementation.
Yeah, especially like removable teeth. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I'm like, if you think of it to other parts of the body, like other different types of prosthetics, like that could be interesting. Except that you better not ever fucking grow out of it. I mean, I guess you could. Or maybe if you made it an implement. Maybe it'd grow with you.
Grow with you, yeah. Because like
it probably would.
Prosthetic arm or something. That'd be fucking cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a good discussion question later.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I wanted to point out, I feel like every time this story says pale in comparison, I'm obligated to point it out. So this time it was, I'd be worried about corrupting the kid with the smoking, swearing, tattoos, and motorcycles, but he's already dead. And it sort of pales in comparison to the terminal violence, demons, and magic ritual bullshit. I was just like, hey.
It doesn't make any sense because it has nothing to do with us, but it still kind of warms my heart to see,
Yep.
Like, I know, I really do know it's nothing to do with us, but I can just be like, look.
Just makes me happy.
It's great.
Yeah. But they keep talking about the big rituals, and they talk about familiars, and he's like, yeah, this is like marriage, and Blake's like, can we stop? And then he's like, this is like a business partnership, and like both of these analogies are like accurate but also hilarious and wrong. Like it's just like Evan and Blake being married is no, we're not going there. And then Evan and Blake, like I picture like a 10-year-old in like a business suit and like holding a clipboard. Just like, I don't know, like it's just really funny. Neither of them are quite accurate. Maybe more like but it's almost more like a brotherhood to me, like a big brother, little brother feeling.
I know, I would almost say, I mean, this isn't quite like serious enough to be a good comparison for it, but I kind of was thinking like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters like organization. Except that's not quite serious enough, but like that, but more adoption type thing.
Yeah.
If you could merge those. But yeah, it's pretty, I mean, business partnership's better than marriage, but
it's just so funny. And it feels very like, I don't know, just like an Alexander-y way to approach things or whatever, not warm enough.
I don't feel like there's a lot of really warm things in this world anyway, but that's true.
Or, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously familiars might be very different, but like Avery and Snowdrop, like, yes, business partners. Like that just sounds like it's like a lesbian, like, euphemism.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ty gets taken down a couple of points in my estimation in these chapters. The biggest thing is during this conversation where he's like, oh, I'd like to do the familiar ritual they do in Asia where you force a bunch of different others to be your familiar by placing them in objects and drawing power from them. And I'm like, I don't like that at all.
Sure.
We know Practitioner Society sucks and they don't know much, but also like the only other he's interacted with is like an adorable little boy who's a bird. And the fact that you're just like, oh yeah, let's force others into whatever. They don't have to be cooperative, and that sounds great. Like, I don't love that.
But they've
not
been kind of
teaching. Ty is awful, I mean, but it's I don't love it.
Sure, but they during this conversation as well, though, they're like, even I'm assuming not in this conversation, they're still teaching him about other types of others like goblins and things. So I'm assuming like yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. It doesn't sound great. I'm not gonna lie though, when I first read like Pact, that didn't really seem that
bad.
I mean, I was just, I mean, it didn't like, yeah, I mean, when I reread it again now, and I like read that again, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about that part. Like that didn't like, stick out to me before. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like, but because I mean, this book, we don't really see the best of
Others,
most others.
yeah.
And you kind of have to remember, like, most practitioners don't have a good relationship with others, and a lot of it is their fault, but like some of it's not. Like some of it's just like they've had bad experiences. Like you read, I didn't. Well, not the most recent Pale, because I actually haven't read the most recent one.
I was gonna say I haven't read the most recent, but yeah, Millie's.
Yeah, Millie's.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting because I'm kind of curious on your take of that chapter. Not to go into that a ton right now, but like, or if you want to say that to compelling comparison part, we can. But I'm kind of curious about.
Yeah, it's funny because that's a parallel comparison that doesn't have a ton to do with this section of chapters, but I did think a lot about Pact while I was reading it. And was surprised they didn't do a back to Pact in the most recent one, but maybe you've talked about goblins enough that they didn't need to. But I was just like, Maggie, like, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna mark it down so
to
that we
come back to
it.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good. This might be our pale in comparison part, everyone. If we, yeah, because I just want to talk about it. But anyway,
yeah, and I mean, like, I'm not like, oh, Ty sucks. I'm trying to remember the other thing that he did where I was just kind of like, ugh. Because I think, like, in general, I still like him, and he's still, one of Blake's really good friends or whatever. But it was just very much a like, oof, like
that's not good.
Yeah, but I think from just reading this story, maybe I wouldn't have bumped on it. I'm not positive, but
because I mean, in terms of the story, I think it's kind of easy to say like Evan's probably the best other we've seen. I mean, no offense to Rose, she's fine, but Evan's like the best, But like, I'd say him and Rose, I'm sorry, are like, I guess June's fine too, but
June.
But it's easy to, we've seen a lot of others that have been really scary.
Right. But I feel like most of the others we've interacted with are also people. And Blake treats, I mean, I feel like there's different arguments about this, but I still think that Blake treats others much better than most practitioners. The way he talks to and about June, he introduces June to Evan,
yes.
He doesn't think of, oh, the hatchet, it's June, it's Leonard. I mean, Leonard in a bottle is funny, but it's, it's Leonard.
Yeah.
Because Leonard is probably the least person like other. So like, what I mean by person is like the Sphinx is a person, right? Like she is she's not human, but she's a full person.
Sure. Okay.
Whereas Leonard is like barely there.
Okay. I would ask, like,
but even Blake treats them like better. I don't know.
Would you? I mean, what about like, obviously the hyena or everyone in the hyena's like realm?
I mean, the hyena's bad and evil, but still seems to be somewhat of a person.
Okay. I mean, I guess I'm really curious what. Because person obviously then doesn't mean good, because like
no, it doesn't.
Say he's pretty evil.
Yeah, no, totally.
So I guess I think I'm wondering.
I mean, there's a difference between like putting chickens into a cage and taking all their eggs and whatever, and like doing that to a person. And I think that others are, I don't know if it's like sentience or what exactly it is, but there's something that would make that cruel and I don't know.
I feel like, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think that, I mean, this is why we're doing this podcast, but I think that your pale bias is coming through a bit more. And that's not bad. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if, I'd be curious if you had read this off the bat, if you'd feel the same. Because I know a lot of people who read Pact first have a bit of a different bias, because sure, you could argue that that's cruel, but if the person or other in particular was doing something a lot worse at first, does that not make it more okay? Or like to at least try to stop them? Or like, what do you think about Blake binding the hyena then? Because technically he, did
No, yeah, I mean, that's
imprison the
great.
person, right?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay. So I'm confused. Are you talking specifically about Ty, like the way he's talking about the familiar ritual, or what are you talking
Yes.
about? Okay. Okay.
Like the fact that you're immediately just like, oh yeah, they put others and like force them into objects, and like sometimes like, like they don't necessarily have to be cooperative, and he's just like, that sounds fucking great, and I'm like, oh, doesn't sound great. Because yeah, I can get that, like if you're going out there and like capturing like monsters and things that are really really hurting people, like awesome, do it. I'm not saying that like every other deserves to be like completely free and running around for all of time, but there's a difference between the Bjorkman and the dumb goblins who were annoying Mellie.
Yes, that's very different.
And even if the dumb goblins are like a pain and we're gonna, do different things to her or whatever, like those goblins and the Bjorkmen both have personhood, but the goblins haven't done anything that I know of to warrant becoming a imprisoned slave sucked up for their power, whereas the Bjorkmen like very much has.
Sure. I think I keep coming back to that you said the hyena is more of a person. And I guess I'm just like, technically, Blake has forced the hyena. He's like against the hyena's consent to turn into this object. And you could argue him giving him to Conquest is going to make Conquest draw power from him. So would you say that that is bad? Or the same kind of thing, or not really?
The giving to Conquest sucks. The binding the goblin is awesome in the same way that binding the Bjorkmen is good. Like once an other has done evil things, to put it very simply, once another is like a huge danger to the community. I mean, like it's like, I don't want to get too far into subjectivism and stuff. Like it's fair and good to imprison the goblin.
But but then it crosses a line to like force them into like slavery. Is what you're saying?
No,
right?
I'm just
no.
I mean, not necessarily, but the fact that it's just like talking about it as though like, oh yeah, let's force others into whatever, not like let's take bad, scary, evil ones and put them away, and then in the meantime use their power to do whatever. I don't know. Saying the hyena in particular is a lot different than just saying like a bunch of random others in Asia.
Sure. Sorry, the main reason I'm fixating on the hyena is because like I felt like you said that counts as an example of the type of thing that you wouldn't think is okay because you said that they're more like a person.
No, but I still think the hyena has personhood in its sentience and ability to communicate, and the fact that it could make decisions about whether or not it would be bound into a sword or whatever.
Okay.
Like, just because you're like an evil piece of shit doesn't mean you're not a person.
I feel like I'm really confused about where you stand on that then. So if Ty wanted to have the I don't know if I'm just missing this. If Ty wanted to have the hyena or something very similar to the hyena as a familiar in terms of the Asian familiar thing, as you were saying, or like that's where it said, right? Or back, yeah, in Asia, and force like make it a hostile takeover, but it's like really evil pieces of shit, others that are doing really terrible things. Like, is that okay, or is it just depends on what it is, or is it not?
Yeah,
okay?
Actually, no, I still don't like that.
Okay,
partly so because Ty, them as Ty's familiar would probably influence him unless the Asian practice doesn't work quite the same way. Okay, but also just the like slavery is bad.
Okay, so I come back around to like again, like with personhood, like or with sentience, these really bad, evil others. Like it's okay to lock them away, but it's not okay to use their power without their consent. Then,
probably.
Okay, interesting. I don't necessarily think I agree with you on that, but I can see your point. And morally, that's the higher ground. So,
I mean, yeah, there's a difference between like what I think is right and what I might do in certain situations.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, that's fair.
right now with Blake, if Blake, I mean, he shouldn't unleash the hyena to do anything because that sounds very bad.
Like a
And
terrible
he
idea.
could possibly fuck up some sort of promise to Evan and get forsworn and blah, blah, blah. But I think that if he creates some sort of thing to use the hyena as like a battery, like great, because Blake
he needs some power.
Fucking needs to.
Yeah.
But that still isn't necessarily a great thing to do. But seems warranted enough in this situation.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that thought exercise. It's kind of interesting to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're approaching and he's just like, Rose is supposed to be the long-term planner. And I'm like, yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this is still going to turn, I don't know. I mean, this story really wants me to believe that it's not going to be okay. And maybe it's just not going to be okay. But I still have hope that it'll be okay.
I like the optimism. I mean, you never know. It could be totally fine. I mean, we got Evan, right?
It won't be totally fine. But I
mean, that's probably true, but it could be totally fine. You don't know. You've never read this.
That's true.
This might be this might actually be like Wildbow's happiest ending, and I just can't say that in the beginning because it'd be a spoiler.
Really delightful.
Yeah, like Wildbow's happiest ending. Yeah, that would be a spoiler. I can't say that. So
yeah, Ward was actually pretty positive, but we can't talk about
it.
This podcast,
so if this was the even better ending, then that's even better, right?
Woo!
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about that, but you can be positive. I like it.
Thanks.
Because you're either going to be really happily surprised or it's going to hit you that much harder when you're wrong. So either way,
I wanted him to leave Toronto so bad.
It's not over.
And he just never did.
You don't think he's going to leave? Or is that going to be your prediction? I don't want to keep on bringing stuff up early.
Yeah, we'll keep going. It's fine.
Okay, we'll keep going. So,
I feel ready for the next section unless you...
The only thing I think you did say no, like most practitioners don't get any real fights.
Yeah, I still don't really see how this is possible. I mean,
yeah, based on both of these stories that we're reading.
Right. And I get that these are the fun sort of outliers or whatever. I don't know, Wildbow. I really want a short story about a quote unquote average practitioner, because I feel like you keep being like, yeah, they don't get into fights and they don't see the judges and they just sort of whatever. And I'm just like, I don't get it. It seems like, if others are really that evil and scary, if other practitioners are really that much of fucking dickbags, maybe you don't get into physical fights, but it seems like there's lots of fights or something.
Mental fights.
Yeah, magical fights.
Mental fuckery. There is a short story that we will read after this. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but you may have heard the title before. I'm not going to tell you about it, though.
I have heard the title. Fuck. Poke?
There you go.
Yeah.
Don't look into it.
I won't. I haven't.
I'm hoping you haven't heard anything about it.
Not as far as I know.
Okay. Because it's going to be, I guess, based on the name, which this is not a fair question, but I don't care. Based on the name, what do you think it's about?
See, the first thing that comes to mind is an annoying sibling, and the second thing that comes to mind is the Facebook thing that
yes
isn't a thing anymore. Maybe it's poke, in needles, injections.
Okay.
That's what it's about. Although Wildbow I feel like a lot of Wildbow's titles aren't
that super... on the nose.
It's Worm isn't about worms.
Yeah.
Ward is decent, and Pact is actually really fucking good. Pale's good, but it's it's not. You have to learn a lot more. If I just heard the word pale, I'd be like, it's nerds who don't go in the sun.
Nerds who don't go in the sun.
Until you know the significance of it, and
it's vampires.
Oh fuck yeah.
All right. Well, we will eventually see if you're right.
Awesome.
That ain't gonna be for a while because we're gonna do that after this podcast is done, or after the story's done.
Jen,
it'll be yes.
What do you think that we're gonna finish this podcast, or that Wildbow's gonna finish Pale? What do you think is gonna happen first?
Fuck. I think he'll finish Pale first.
Okay. So I thought about it today, and I was like, oh no. And I don't want to go and look up all the chapters or whatever, but I know I think 16 arcs or something.
Yeah. I mean, I love the story. I mean, I know it's if you're just starting reading it right now, it's kind of daunting to read because it's super long. But like, I'm like, shoot, keep on going, bro.
Sure,
Keep on writing. It's fine with me. But yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming he'll get done with Pale first. But yeah,
I just really thought that Pale would finish fairly quickly after we started this podcast. It's so funny.
Me too, actually. Yeah, it's kind of fun. I know it's like Pale in comparison, but we're still learning about Pale. That's all right. All right, next section. Blake heads to the tower and he speaks with some people. It's a great synopsis there.
Yeah, so I would die all the time if Isadora talked to me because I'm never going to fucking remember the questions thing. Like, I even put that note, and then at the end of the chapter at the end of this section or whatever, when she's like, how is this going to resolve or something, and he doesn't say anything, and I'm like, oh yeah, because blah, and then she's like, you should just say the wrong thing and let me eat you, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, that was a question. Like, I would be dead a lot.
Yeah.
Although I guess if you say the right answer, you're not dead, but you might not say the right answer, so something.
Yeah. Does she just like wait? Is she just really hungry? Why would she want to eat a diabolist anyway? If they're like tainted with shit, right?
Oh, good point. I mean, I guess he'd be gone. So
yeah, maybe it's worth it. It's like, it tastes terrible, but I'll do it for humanity.
Or something.
Does she have like a limit on stuff that she can eat? Like if she asks like a question to, I hate like speaking, like thinking out loud like this on a podcast, because I just realized like, wow, I'm probably gonna sound really stupid and it's gonna be recorded forever and ever. But it's too late. I'm already talking.
It's okay.
So if she was like, if she somehow like asked a question to like the imp or something, and he said something wrong, then could she eat him, and would she want to, or then would she get tainted, or would that actually destroy like the demon? And is that like the secret of the story? You just got to get Isadora to eat everything.
Yeah, there's probably some sort of limit on what she can eat in terms of like big demons, but I bet she could eat poos.
You think she? I mean, would she want? Well, I mean, like out of all the demons, I mean, there's probably worse names than poos, but like it sounds a lot like poo. And is she gonna want to eat poo? And is she gonna want to eat like, I don't know, like it's tainted? Would she eat the book straight up, or would she just like, I don't know? I feel like that wouldn't work well, but it's fun to ask questions like that.
It does seem like it would horrifically backfire in a lot of ways, but
yeah, a demonic Isadora. She's already scary on her own.
That would be bad. That'd be very bad.
That'd be very bad.
But yeah, I mean, her conversations with Blake are fun and interesting, and it sucks that I guess she's going to try to kill him now or whatever, but
not surprising, I feel like, but I feel like that's been, I feel like, I don't know if she's been that subtle about that. I mean, maybe it's just because I read this before, but yeah, I was like, why are you surprised? Like,
Blake has a lot of interesting reactions to a lot of things in these chapters, and I'm like, I don't know if it's because you're still out of it, or if this is like, just, it's weird.
It's a little weird, but he's a little weird, and he's in a weird situation.
I'm always situation.
Gonna, gotta stick up for, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that cabal is such a cool word. We're learning all these fun words. There's circle, and
circle is such a cool word.
And cabal. Circle for like a group of people is pretty cool.
I know, but just the way you said that, you're like, we're learning circle. Like, yeah, it's this shape.
It's funny that they're all C words. Like, what other words could there be? So coven, circle, cabal.
You know what I thought of when you said C word?
Cunt.
Yes. Like, couldn't help it. Which I'm sure people have applied to Blake before, you know?
Yeah. But like, what other C words are there that can describe a group? Cafeteria.
Let's see. There's cafeteria. Okay. All right. I looked, let's see, thesaurus.com, synonyms for group. And I'm going to look, cartel, That's a good one.
That one's fun.
All right. Yeah, I'm not going to read all these. Click.
Oh, fuck. There's so many. Okay. Keep going.
Conglomerate. Congregation.
Corporation.
Crew. They also have coterie.
Coterie?
Coterie. I don't even know if I know that word. I guess you do. Let's see. Less appetizingly, clot or clump or cluster.
Oh, cluster's a good one.
It is. Also seems gross to me, but
because I don't know. I feel like I don't know if this is a fun discussion question, but like pick a word that starts with C and tell us what group of practitioners that describes. So like a clump of goblin princesses or something.
That's true. Do you want to, or I guess the C ones do narrow it down a little bit more because I was like, just pick a synonym for group, but
I mean, it could be any, but easy. So far they're all C's, which
that's
feels
true.
like a
well,
thing.
I'm reading all the C's on purpose, but
no, but I mean like circle, cabal, and coven are all C's.
That is true. No, you're right. Okay, yeah, pick another C word. I mean, you could even do cunts. You know, that's fine. It's a bunch of Australian practitioners, basically.
That's so good.
I have to ask Ruben and Elliot if that sounds legit. Is that what you guys would call yourselves? Just the good old group of cunts? You know? I used to get really offended at that word because in, the United States, it's kind of rings a little bit different. And I had like, when I was a senior in high school, I was driving to a movie. I was dating Akira at the time, if you remember him, Malia. I was driving to a scary movie on top of that. And I think I was going like 60 miles an hour. And the speed limits in Maui are like really fucking slow. So I think the speed limit was like 45, but it was not uncommon to go like 15 over. And there was a pickup truck that like pulled up right next to me, and he was like trying to get me to roll down his window or my window and stuff. And I was like, oh, I wonder if like, my blinker's on or something. And so I rolled down my window because I was expecting he's going to, say something nice. And he was like, do you know how fast you were going? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And he's like, you were going 60 in like a 30 zone, which it wasn't a 30 zone, but fair enough. Then he just like, what did he say exactly? He basically threatened me and said that like I better watch where the fuck I was going, or else like he was gonna hunt me down, and he called me a cunt, and then he drove off.
Fuck?
Yeah, I don't know if you never knew about that, but it really
upset
heard
me.
This
story. That's horrifying.
It was kind of horrifying. I was really upset. At the time, I was doing an internship at the police department because I was really interested in forensic science. I still am interested in it, but I was working in basically the part of the police department where they test drugs. Like if someone gets arrested for like cocaine, they like, bring the specimen or like the sample of cocaine in there, and like we measure how much it was, and then basically see like how pure of a sample it was. And you can kind of do that through a bunch of different ways, like through like, I don't know, a microscope or a spectrometer. But basically I'd been going to the police department for like a month over this time, like, and I was just really upset. And I was kind of talking to a couple of them about it, and they said I could file a police report, which I did. They were mostly just being nice because I didn't get the guy's license plate or anything, but they were just like, you can just put it on file and stuff. And I did. But it always really bothered me. And so the word cunt bothered me for a long time, which is fair. But now my husband, like one of my husband's best friends is from Australia. And so he uses the word cunt a lot more. And so now I just kind of think it's funny. That guy who, was a total dick, he was a fucking cunt. Fucking like cuntosaurus, as my friend likes. One of my nursing friends came up with that, which I've always liked that. Yeah. Yes. Cuntosaurus Rex. Indeed. But anyway, that was my cunt story.
I love it.
At least, yes. Thank you.
But yeah, Isadora. Okay. So I think that I'm trying to decide. It feels like a good idea to promise to like not read the books. But it also feels like this might come back to bite them in the ass, but also it shouldn't.
Probably shouldn't, right? At least like
well, because at first he was like, touch the books, and I was like, don't say touch the books. Like, somebody's gonna throw a book at you. Like, don't do that. Like, I don't know. I was like, no.
Yeah.
So that was better. And yeah, I don't know. Like the whole Cabal thing. Like, why are they like? I get he awakened them, but they haven't like made an agreement to be a group necessarily. Like, why aren't they just like allies or just like something? Like, it feels like the rose in the ritual almost like cements them as part of a group, like the Thorburn thingy. Because I don't get why the rose is in the awakening ritual. Because it's not like they literally awoke together. Like, it's not like Lucy and Avery and Verona or whatever, where like they're tied forever. And so I just don't really get why, because they're just like, oh yes, the Diabolus Cabal, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, but
I mean,
I don't know.
Because you could say that, well, I mean, because it looked like they were part of his group, right? Like, as, I mean, even as allies, like, they seem like they're with him.
Yeah, and I mean, they are, I don't know.
They're probably just like, I mean, he has to, I mean.
They're not baby Diabolists, hopefully? I don't know. But everyone was just kind of like, yeah, the baby Diabolists. And I'm like, no.
Well, they probably were assuming, like, you know, why the hell would anyone be hanging out with a Diabolist unless they are baby Diabolists?
That's fair.
But just fair. But I think it's kind of hard for them to be actual baby Diabolists if they can't touch the books. So,
well, the problem is there are a lot of other books, and you don't have to use books to learn things.
That's true, but it makes it hard sometimes unless you can't read. And then, do you think they have magic audiobooks yet? Does that count? Because you're not touching it.
Well, that was the thing. I was like, you're not reading if someone's reading it to you.
That's true.
And so many bad thoughts. But
who would what would the version of Black Lamb's Blood be called as an audiobook? I guess it'd be called the same thing. But do you think the author would Black Lamb's Blood? Do you think that the author like would read it or would hire someone to read it? And how much money do you think they'd have to hire someone to read a Diabolus book?
Well, she wouldn't read it herself because protecting identities or whatever. So maybe she'd get another to read it. That'd be funny.
Someone in her cabal.
Yeah. It'd be cool if you could get like a demon to read it. That'd be funny.
Oh, you know what I just realized? Cabal, if you rearrange the words, is black. I mean, not spelled like black, but like black. Black. Which you could say kind of sounds like a lamb. Black.
Stupid. No, this is stupid.
Yes, it is stupid. All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Oh my god, and then here is another in a long line of people saying awkward shit out loud that maybe they should phrase differently. I mean, like, Isadora does not care, but the whole "she is warm for you," I was like, what did you say?
That's such an awkward
I was
thing
like,
to
is
say.
Tiffany not here just because? But like, if Tiffany was there, it'd be like funnier for her to say this, but it was just like so awkward. And then Alexis coughs, and I'm like, yeah, you're trying to get them to sleep together? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it felt like it was like a
I was thinking maybe more of just like it
like
took her like off guard or something, and so she was just
her to just fucking say this.
Yeah, so she just, I don't know. I'm hoping it's not like Blake, wink, wink. I don't think that's it.
Well, I wonder if Tiffany told Alexis that they like went on a date or whatever.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. It's kind of cute. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't feel cute in this context. It just feels awkward. But I mean, it's cute. But
well, just she is warm for you. Like, holy fuck.
Like, thank you,
please,
Isadora.
Please say that some other way.
You.
Please say that some other way. I don't even know. God,
yeah, even if she's question. Like, I mean, if she is hot for you, would have been hilarious.
Maybe that's what she meant, and she just isn't caught up with the lingo.
No, she's not cool enough. I mean, like, I'm not saying she's not cool, but yeah, she's like ancient. Like, for her to say something like she's hot, she's got the hots for you, she's hot for you, I've been fucking hilarious. But no, she's so warm funny. For you is more of a that does sound like a old as fuck way to say that.
I just want like another discussion question would be like, what are more awkward ways to say that?
How about like just what's the most awkward thing like someone's said to you like that should have been said in private?
Choose one for you.
Like what caused you to be so filled with cringe that you don't have to watch like Meet the Parents ever again? You know?
Well, just
I
that.
can't watch that movie.
Yeah. I can't do cringe comedy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is part of why the notes took me so long, Jenny, because I really tried with this next part. The Sphinx is like, you recently transferred some of the negative karma from yourself in 3 separate events. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I'm supposed to be able to figure this out, and I can't. I was like, maybe saving Evan / binding the hyena. That's good. That's putting some more order back into the universe.
Yeah.
But dealing with poos doesn't feel like it. Trying and failing to deal with the splinter, because at least he tried. But I don't think the spirits give a fuck. And then I can't think of anything else. I wonder if Rose submitting to Conquest was good karma, because it's like bending to the natural order of things.
That I doubt. 'Cause I feel like she kind of just didn't have a choice. Yeah, I would go with one of the other ones. Maybe like trying to deal with
maybe because
he did try.
Yeah, and Isadora seems to be like, yeah, the awakening your friends was not part of that.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that was brutal. She was like, yeah, like it's basically saying like, yeah, your karma's so shit. Like just because it felt right doesn't mean it was a good thing. It might just be that your karma led you to awake them when you shouldn't have. Like, ooh,
that was a lot.
Fucking brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is fun for everyone who knows how the story ends.
Yes.
It's so scary.
Wow, those most positive ending. Wildbow's happiest ending.
I hate it. Yeah, but so that took me a while, and I came up with basically nothing. So great use of my time, but it's okay.
Right. You tried.
Yeah. And then like, I don't know, I almost want this to be like the sign up of the podcast or something now. But when he's just like, all right, Isadora, like, hope we're cool. And she's like, die cleanly, Diabolist. I'm just like, holy fuck.
Yeah, like, well,
that's that so didn't metal.
And then somehow he was like, what? She wants to eat me?
Die cleanly. Well, it was kind of nice. Like, die cleanly? Like, that's nice.
I mean, yeah. She might eat him cleanly. Or kill him
she didn't
cleanly.
Say, like, die slowly and painfully. Like, that's cool.
Yeah. That's positive.
That's positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so then she leaves, and then there's the shepherd, and he's like, oh my god. And this part was the whole like attacking a man's name is bad form. I don't hear him complaining. Like, that was hilarious. I also picture Blake saying these things like very seriously or very snarkily.
Yeah.
Both of which are kind of funny. But just, like Evan, like Blake is right, and he saved Evan, and he's right.
Yeah.
I'm also like happy that the shepherd didn't find Evan, because I feel like he wouldn't have passed on. He just would have been like a power source and stuff. Like, I don't know how bad the shepherd treats the ghosts and shit that he collects, but I don't know how well he treats them.
Yeah. And it's not going to be like a Blake and Evan level, you know?
Right. Yeah. Speaking of, and then the elder sister comes up, and they're like, you suck, Blake. And Evan's like, he doesn't suck.
I know. He's great.
It's so cute. And I really love it. And then I'm like so worried that Blake's going to fuck up and just destroy Evan, like emotionally. And because even like taking the hyena, and Evan's like very worried about it. And I'm just like, this has the potential to be real bad.
Have some faith in my boy.
I don't think Blake's going to like
intentionally do anything.
Right. I'm just worried that, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just worried.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And they're like bickering, and then Fel comes outside, and I was just like, I love you, Fel. Like, I just love you.
So Blake challenges Conquest to a contest, and they hash out rules.
Seeing the eye was exciting. That was me listening back through our old episodes, and we heard about the eye, and I was like, that sounds like a big deal. And so then when it popped up, I was like, hey, that thing.
Yeah, that thing.
Oh my god, and then the fucking Behemoths are there. I didn't expect this. The concept of
Right?
like people leaving Jacob's Bell and going to Toronto, even though we've literally seen someone leave Jacob's Bell and go to Toronto, like, did not occur to me. And last episode I was literally like, oh yeah, like Duncan like pissed the Lord off. Interesting. And I just like didn't think of that.
That's okay.
I can't predict shit.
No, yes you can. You
I just
do
feel
just
like,
fine if you write stuff down, and we can't tell you what you've predicted correctly. So you might have, so you might be totally fine. And even if you're not, it's entertaining. So don't feel bad. No one thinks you're dumb.
It's just kind of like where the story is going. I never fucking know.
Malia, just in case you thought differently, like if people read, like anytime anyone reads this story, it's not like they're all like, oh yeah, this is gonna fucking happen. Like no one knows where the damn story's gonna go unless they read spoilers. Like that's how it is.
That's fair.
Yeah. So like it's not like you're alone.
I try hard with my brain.
You do good with your brain.
Okay.
Try a lot harder than I do with your brain. You know? Partially because you kind of have to, because you're the one that has to make predictions, and I can kind of I have the easier job of kind of coasting, and but yeah, I wouldn't feel bad about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Excuse me.
But yeah, the fucking Fel does not make any situation better. He's just like saying shit about, oh yeah, like they exterminate cabals in Montreal. Maybe we should go talk to those witch hunters. And I'm like that's mean, but also like they're obviously babies and they don't know what's going on. And like this is me. And somebody should have talked to him, but also anyway. And then I love the justification from Conquest of like, yes, if like the Behemoths had undermined me and succeeded, it would have been okay because ultimately I'm better than them. But since they undermined me and they fucking failed, they can't get away with it. Like it would make Toronto seem weaker. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I love this justification, and it's so funny. God, just so many of these lines are so good. Because another one I pulled out is then Laird goes, "Family looks after family, or it should," and it was just like, oh, like burn Blake on your whole family and your whole life. It sucks so bad. Like, your grandma should have like said 2 words to you your whole life. Like, oh my god.
That's like that fucking cuts a little bit.
Yeah. And then this other thing I pulled out, which is the whole like Blake reaction, the part of the Blake reacting to things strangely, where Rose is like, without asking me, stupid, so many things wrong with that plan. And Blake thinks to himself, you've been through a lot, I'll let that slide. And I'm like, let what slide? Like, she's right. Like, she's right and she should say it. Like, maybe saying stupid is mean, but she's like probably said worse things. And like, maybe that's awkward to say out loud or whatever, but like, that didn't seem that extreme to me. And then later, when she's like, free and she's running back to the house to get books, and and he's like, Rose, let me introduce you to these people, and she's like, yeah, give me a minute, and like runs off, and he's like, she didn't even say hi to my friends. And I'm like, you're reacting to things strangely. Like, let her not saying hi to your friends slide. Like, she's been trapped and she's had a long day and she's probably not ready for a ton of social interaction, and she's trying to prepare for this thing that you've thrust them all into. He's a weird man. But also, I should acknowledge that Blake has been through a lot, and I should let it slide.
You fucking should. Holy shit. Like, I mean, I don't think that's... I just scrolled to that spot, and he was like, you went and got other people involved? Yes, without asking me, stupid. So many things wrong with that plan. I mean, sure, she might be right, but it's kind of an asshole-ish way to say it. So I think you could say, him saying, you've been through a lot, I'll let that slide, isn't him being like, you're totally wrong. But it's more like, that was kind of an asshole thing to say, especially in front of everybody.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Yeah, it's kind of a dickish way to react. I mean, fair, but like, it's not like she was able to help out. Obviously, like, he had to do something really fucking out there that she didn't know about and couldn't guess.
Sure,
and
yeah.
I mean, like, it's not like, I mean, sure. It just was like, thanks for adding more like critique instead of solutions, basically. It's like he's doing his best, I feel like.
Yeah,
But,
maybe.
Yeah. I think that's more annoying than, her having to go get shit, not saying hi to the friends, but.
Sure. I feel like and again, I think probably the public nature of this is the biggest thing that maybe he was reacting to. Because I feel like they've like talked to each other in ways that were like harsher than this. But maybe he didn't let any of those things slide. I don't know.
Yeah. I think the public thing is extra right, but yeah.
So then the contest. I love how he just is like the seventh seal, and Conquest like immediately knows what he's talking about. And I like was very confused. And apparently maybe there's like a remake or something. But when I Googled it briefly, it's a Swedish movie from 1958. And I was like, what the fuck? Why do you know about this movie?
Excuse me, it's 1957, actually.
Okay,
I just
sorry.
Googled it too. Like, it's like people also ask, why is the seventh seal so popular? So I guess it's an actual like thing.
And I mean, yeah, he basically does the rundown of like he challenges death to a chess game and blah, and like yeah. But it was funny where I thought that it was like a practice thing, and Laird thought it was like a practice thing, but he was like, it's a movie. I was like, this just feels like the whole Deer Takes King, and being like, that's not even a chess move, and her being like, it's an Avery Kelly move, like that's not even a thing in the practice. It's a movie. Like, I don't know. It just felt pretty funny.
Dang, did you look at the at the description for this movie?
Not a ton. Something about World War II or something.
No,
right?
But I was gonna say close, but no. When disillusioned Swedish knight Antonius Block returns home from the Crusades.
Yeah, sorry, the Crusades. That was it. The Crusades.
To find his country in the grips of the Black Death, he challenges death to a chess match for his life. Tormented by the belief that God does not exist, Block sets off on a journey, meeting up with traveling players Joff and his wife Mia, and becoming determined to evade death long enough to commit one redemptive act while he still lives. I guess it's very popular. And I've never heard of it before I read Pact, actually. And I didn't actually look it up before I did this podcast with you, because I think I was just like, oh, it's a movie. Okay. Or it was like cool. But that does fit very well with what he seems to be trying to do.
Yeah.
With Conquest.
Well, I was just curious, it was one of those things where like, because the Otherverse is a different universe from ours or whatever, they have like things that are slightly different. And I was wondering if this was just something that Wild Bill kind of made up. But no,
that's what I assumed, I think, when I read it the first time. But no, that description is too on the nose. That's for show.
But yeah, this whole thing is another one of the situations where like I don't really know what else Blake could have done. I mean, I guess like the practice likes big showy moves, and so this is probably one of the best options available to him. Since he can't just like shove Conquest into a room and lock the door with a demon harp. And there's a lot of good themes going on, and like this is another like, let's make other people fight for us and prove that we're better at being leaders, which is officially a theme in the Otherverse with John and then Verona and her domain ritual and this. And it makes sense for people who are weaker in some way to be like, let's prove it with leadership. But it's interesting. Yeah. So you have to get the other side to surrender, and Conquest can't really die or something. And Blake's not going to get any more friends. And he's going to make him use the demons. I don't know. It's just like, damn.
It's rough.
But I mean, he fell free for now. He got Rose out of the chain. Like, I feel like, there were some good things. The demons aren't with Conquest anymore. Yeah. We're going to see Maggie maybe again. I mean, probably. How's a fucking teenager going to get... I don't know. Anyway.
Magic.
Magic. Yeah.
All right. Should we go through the champions?
Yeah. Speaking of.
They pick champions.
Woo!
And
Yeah. Do you want to go through them, or do you want me to? I don't know.
I can read them, I guess. Conquest picks the Eye, the Shepherd, the Elder Sister, the Astrologer, and Laird.
Lol.
It's like all the Laird.
The Laird.
And then Blake has one the, which is the hyena. But first he picks Rose, Fell, Poos, the hyena, and then Maggie Holt.
Lol.
Which is kind of random as fuck. But
yeah, in my notes, I put Fell, lol, and Maggie Holt, lol. Like,
lol.
I'm just like, lol. Fell was good. That was a good move. That was fun. Partially just because, we like him, we're invested in him, and also just, I don't know. I don't think Conquest expected that. And then Maggie was just like, oh, fuck, like, Jacob's Bell's coming.
Yeah. They're coming.
They're coming.
To Toronto.
It makes me feel like maybe we won't ever leave Toronto, and I'm sad. But the house. Ugh.
I mean,
and I feel like we need to see Blake do all the rituals, because part of me was like, now that his friends are awakened, maybe we'll see them do the other rituals. But I think we need to see the implement and domain ritual from the perspective of Blake.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're gonna do it still. And I feel like he's not. I mean, he shouldn't make his apartment a domain, because there's too many people in Toronto to fuck him up.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to fuck him up.
Like, Conquest would let him do it. So.
That's probably true. And he has to go to monthly meetings anyway, Jacob's Bell, so.
Oh my god, Johannes. God, I've missed Jacob's Bell so much. We should go back. Like, just go back.
He's got to do this contest thing first.
I guess. We'll I just still am like, and then he's just gonna leave. And like, that doesn't make sense. And like, his friends now, I just.
You don't know what's gonna happen. So, you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah. But I'm really happy that Conquest didn't pick his friends to like torture or whatever. And it's nice that, again, he picks Fell, even though Fell's knowledge is just like, yeah, Conquest is weak. And it's like, fucking knew it. We already knew that. Although I guess it's also like, everyone hates you.
Yeah. Everyone hates you.
I thought it was interesting that he takes the hyena, and then it's like, oh, you want me to take Poos, but you know how to deal with Poos, so you can deal with Poos. Lol, bye.
Lol.
And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I mean, I feel like this shouldn't be my reaction, but I was like, oh, cool. Like, obedience forever. Like, now you have a fucking imp at your disposal. Like, that's a huge power boost that you just got. But
True.
Also,
I mean, it's not like great morally, but like, you're a diabolist, kind of gotta. I mean, yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. God. Oh, and Maggie. I'm just excited, and also like, God. But yeah, and then they walk out, and he's like, maybe you should participate, Isadora. And she's like, I am. And then later's like, yeah, she wants to fucking kill you. And it's like, okay.
Great.
It's great.
It's fantastic. All right. And then basically Blake like introduces everyone to everyone.
Except Rose, who is busy and has better things to do. Oh my god. Oh, that was the other thing where Ty was like, shouldn't you introduce us before you introduce her? And I'm like, bitch, like, she is him. Like, back up.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
But also, it would be a mutual introduction thing, and like, most of these people already know who you are. Like, you've met the knights, and I mean, I guess you could say like, oh, Fell, but like, Fell and Rose were the only people who hadn't met everyone, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just felt weird.
Probably.
It was like, some things are more, I don't know.
Important.
But yeah, okay, so Blake doesn't have a phone, but I swear to God, Blake had a phone once upon a time.
Did he have a phone? Why don't you think he has a phone?
Because he says, I don't have a phone.
I okay. But yes, I understand that, but why don't you think he has a phone?
Oh. He doesn't have money.
Okay. Why do you think he says he's never had a phone?
Because the demon ate it.
That might be why. It could be why, because he says he's never had one, right? He's like, I've just never needed one. And Fell's like, in this day and age, he's like, I don't know, I never. That's what a lot of people think.
That would make sense. Except he borrowed Fell's phone before he went to see the Splinter. Because he borrowed Fell's phone a while ago. And
True, but you said,
down.
like, retroactively we can't remember him having a phone anyway, right? So he might just have left his phone somewhere else at that time.
He
or
had a phone
it might
at
have
one
been
point.
dead.
Oh.
I don't know. You might be right, but he had a phone. But the thing is, Blake says, Blake said he's never had a phone. Blake himself says he's never had one. So why would he say that?
Is that a lie? If, like, assuming that the thing ate it, is that a lie? Do the spirits know that he used to have a phone?
Well, technically, like, it's kind of like eating stuff out of existence, right?
So in a way, he has never had a phone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, he doesn't say I've never had a phone. It's just,
I guess that's true, but it's just like,
you don't have a phone? No. That does feel like it got eaten. I'd like to know how you get by. I just do. I never really thought about it because it got eaten. That's probably fine. That's probably it. Anyway,
it might be it. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Anyway. Yes, please keep that humming in.
It's possible.
Everyone who hasn't seen
watch that movie again.
Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
So good.
It's good. You know, the 90s one is not the original one.
It's so good.
Have you seen the original one?
No.
I haven't either. Anyway, let's see. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just yeah.
Okay.
A lot of feelings.
Well, feelings. We are gonna move on to our pale in comparison section, and we're gonna talk about Mellie's interlude because I want to talk about it. And what Malia thought about it. Because I read an interesting post on Reddit about someone's thought about Mellie and all that, and I don't know if I'd say it was very charitable in my opinion, but I'm kind of curious what you think about it.
I mean, so just that first part feels a lot like Maggie, right? I mean, not honestly not at the same scale because like this family was destroyed, this house was destroyed, but the whole fucking town wasn't like completely destroyed.
She didn't see anything like that, at least in that first memory. Sure.
Right. And this was scary, like, you know, like them with their eyes under the thing. Oh my god. And then the one that comes down from the attic, that was really horrifying. Like it, and they were like, you know, it was trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And that was scary. And I don't know what I would have thought if I hadn't read Maggie's part in Pact.
Yeah.
Because that was really hard for me to digest and accept. But like we did see the dog meat, and we know that they
can do really bad things.
Right.
Like even Toad Swallow was complicit in the milkmaid.
Right.
Which is fucking awful.
That sucked so bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it fits with his character kind of. Like I could see him doing it, but it also sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love how she is about goblins. But that was very traumatic and horrifying. And she obviously knows and understands how bad they can be. I think in a way more than the Kenneteers might realize.
Yeah.
Because like they've seen the dog meat, but they've never seen this. However, I do think, I think seeing America and Liberty's goblins and stuff, like you've seen a bunch of like silly goofballs. And so maybe you could start to see that while some goblins are like evil and scary and horrible, like not all goblins are like that.
Okay. So like, sure. But like, cause her family, I mean, sure, they're like keepers of seals, but they also are goblin exterminators. So they probably mostly get called to bad situations like what she saw. Right.
No, that's fair.
And so, I mean, I feel like it'd be fair for her to be thinking of most goblins as either ticking time bombs or at the very least like nothing good, even if they're kind of annoying and goofballs. Maybe that's their like, maybe to her that's as good as they get, and they can be really, really awful.
Right. I could see it as like these goblins have the potential to become these like horrific murderers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like a lot of Millie's opinions and choices were fairly understandable. And especially assuming that she's been to a whole bunch of more situations like that.
And she's only 19, I think, right? So that's pretty damn young.
Right. And thinking about, because at first when it sounded like Goblin Exterminator, it did sound much more like, oh, these are pests and they're annoying. Not like, oh, these are like scary, murderous monsters who like get into people's houses and kill them all.
Kill the children and the babies. And
right.
Yeah.
I think the term Goblin Exterminator
sounds a little bit
that often they are killing annoying pesty goblins and not the evil vicious ones. But
I mean, I'd say I don't know if I'd agree with that. I mean, I'd say it sounds like they kill goblins. I don't know if it makes it sound like they kill just the annoying ones as opposed to the other ones, though.
Yeah. No, not just, but I mean like that sometimes that is part of their job and that is something that they're fine with.
Okay.
Like I feel like the word exterminator just brings to mind like pests, like pest control. And not like it like goblin hunter or something would be more of a like this is a big scary threat and not like this is a fucking pain. But we're going to eradicate them all because they don't deserve to exist in our space.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, Millie's interlude was really interesting and had a lot of fun moral quandaries. And it was interesting seeing Akanatir as like on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
What do you think about the choice she made? And I'm also curious what you thought of like, I guess what Avery was saying to her. Because one thing that stood out is she was like, I don't think you're a good person, but I don't think you're like a terrible person either.
It was kind of harsh. I feel like some of the choices she made with like Bristow and some of the like decisions, the things she was learning, suggest maybe Avery's right. And especially with like the goblins, I can see why Avery would think that. She did try to take care of the creepy guy in the basement, which was sweet. And she was trying to do a good job. I don't know. The choice was, it felt tempting, especially the like getting 3 children back and like you won't take any. Seems like a great deal, but it reminded me of Blake and the lawyers. Blake is very reticent to ask the lawyers for help because it becomes easier each time.
Sure.
And that moment of like the, I'm doing this because you're gonna just do this again and it'll be, easier. And eventually you'll let me, start taking kids or whatever, like rang very true and reminded me of like what Blake is trying to avoid basically.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. What did you think?
I felt like I could empathize very well with like her thoughts on goblins. It seemed like she got really traumatized from that one experience in particular, especially like going into the little girl's room and being like, this is
horrible.
Could have been me. And
right.
They didn't even mention her saying anything about the baby, but like, if, hopefully she didn't see that too much, but I'm like, anything that could do anything like that to innocent little kids, like, I could see her. I'm trying to remember somebody like who is on Discord and stuff as well, like wrote a really good Reddit post. And hold on, I'm gonna try to look it up real quick and just give that person some credit, because I feel like I kind of resonated a lot. I almost want to say there were 2 posts about Mellie. They were both, unless I'm just making that up, maybe it's just one. So like the one I can find was by Rid Tom, which is pretty good. Wrote a pretty long thing. I feel like it seemed well thought out, but at the same time I didn't find it very charitable towards Mellie. I don't know. I kind of feel like I can't find the other one I was talking about, unfortunately, but I think I could see where she was coming from. And it feels, I can't remember who wrote the dang comment or post or whatever, but whoever it was, they were saying like that you could see that she really, really cares about like children and keeping children safe. And she like, even when she was talking about like Alexander, and he was she was trying to convince him to like give her a room, and he was saying, well, this could hurt like American liberty and da 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 da. She like couldn't bring herself to do something that was going to hurt somebody, so I feel like I don't know, I felt like Avery was being very harsh, and I disagree entirely with her saying that like she's not a good person, because I think with everything that she knows about goblins, she's, even if she's being harsh, she's doing what she thinks is right, and she's trying to do things that are actively helping people. So I'd say, especially for a practitioner, she's seems good to me.
Yeah, no, I think I agree.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, and I feel like with her choice, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but like, in my opinion, the only like objective right thing to do is to take the deal, because it's letting 3 kids free. I mean, like, that's three kids that like get to go back to their parents, and he's not going to take anybody then. Like, sure, it's easier to do again next time, but at that point, like, I mean, how could you not feel like a complete piece of shit if you didn't take that deal?
I mean, I think though that you don't have all the facts in terms of like have the kids been fundamentally changed in some way where now they are some like weird threat. I mean, it seems like they're not, and they're innocence still or whatever.
Didn't he swear that they would be like unchanged and would be innocent though, and wouldn't remember anything? I think that's what I think that's what they said, that they like wouldn't remember anything and they would just be innocent. So assuming that, at least.
No, I think you're right.
And this is also in that post, so I feel really bad for like taking all these person's ideas. And so like, I don't think it was in Red Tom's post, but I didn't want to read through the whole comment
under.
I thought it was a whole post, and that's what's driving me nuts, because I don't remember who it was. So feel free to comment, and I apologize for not giving you credit. But it also is a little bit rich, like, I feel like, just to, I don't know, I'm just like, Avery goes out and says like, you're not a good person. Or not, she doesn't say that explicitly, but she says, I don't think you're a good person. Fair enough. She says, I don't think you're terrible either. Okay. She also has Anne, who's actively trying to murder everybody with her. And like, Mellie explicitly, even when she lets like the monster dude out, she's like, don't do any lasting harm, just stall. Like, she explicitly is like still trying to not hurt people, and Anne's trying to go ahead and fucking lightning everyone like to death. So it's point. Like, if you're really looking at that interaction from like an outside thing, like, who looks worse right now? Like, whose team looks worse? Like, Avery's team looks worse. They look like they're doing more harm to people or trying to hurt people. And obviously we've been with Avery, so we know what kind of person she is, and she's pretty awesome. But I think that was a little bit it does kind of make me wonder, like, how, if the Kenneteers are going to act differently, or like at least have a little bit more, I don't know, have a little more understanding for some practitioners who like seem really like cutthroat against some others. So it's kind of interesting to see, like, in Verona's domain ritual, how they were doing flashbacks for all the others that like she knew, and like some really shitty things that they'd been doing. Which, I mean, everybody does shitty things, but like, those are really shitty things,
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it is good to see both sides of it. Obviously, most practitioners see the bad side, but they probably could use to see a little bit more of that bad side, just to, not to be scared or anything like that, but like, just to kind of know that there is some potential danger for that, But anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. It was a good chapter.
Yeah, that was a really good chapter. I'm excited to read the most recent one. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
Me too.
All right. Now the part everyone's been waiting for, which is Malia's bold and specific prediction. So, what is it?
Well, I was like, maybe I should make a bold and specific prediction about what's going to happen next. Like, which champion's going to face which champion first. Although it seems like it won't necessarily be one-on-one. Like, there was no stipulation that it had to be one-on-one.
Do you think Maggie's going to make it up in time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, because again,
She's
a
probably not
thing
a
for the
finder.
Kenneteers is traveling, like being able to cross distances, and she's can she even drive? I don't know. How would she explain that to her dads?
True. Is she, or who do you think's gonna win this contest?
I think Blake is going to win.
Okay. Do you think he's going to use? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Or part of me was thinking maybe Jeremy Meath will come in and like take over Conquest, and then like no one will really win. I don't know what happens if that happens.
Okay.
But yeah,
Blake has 2 champions that he kind of can't use, or I guess he can, but like it's a little bit more problematic if he does. You know,
I don't really think he's going to use the hyena for anything more than like maybe a battery sort of thing. But I think he'll use Poos for something.
Okay.
So he didn't tell Evan he wouldn't. I don't know.
True. Okay.
Or at least fucking Rose will. Rose loves the demons.
Do you think that Rose is going to try to use some of her books or anything? Or like...
I mean, she's bringing a bunch of books.
That's true. Like, what do you think she's going to do with them, I guess?
I mean, she might not be bringing specifically the demon books. Grandma Rose has lots of books. I think that part of what Grandma Rose did when she altered Rose into being who she is make her like more... But like Rose has a significantly higher proclivity for using the demons than Blake does. And I think that was part of Grandma Rose's like intentional doing.
Yeah.
But Rose also does listen to Blake and things, and so I'm not sure what will happen.
Okay. But this is the part where we do bold and specific predictions. So...
Well, yeah, okay, so Blake's gonna win, and he's gonna use Poos, and he's not gonna use the hyena.
Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else like specific and outlandish I want to ask. Are they going
Fel
back?
Is gonna die.
Fel's gonna die. Okay.
That's a thought.
That's a bold and specific prediction. All right. I like it.
Okay.
Is he gonna get eaten by Isadora?
Who?
Fel.
Blake? Fel? I really hope not.
Okay. Do you think Blake's gonna get eaten then?
No.
Do you think he's ever gonna make it back to Jacob's Bell?
Yes.
Story? Okay.
He fucking has to. We can't have that much of a buildup about Johannes in his fucking domain and never goddamn go back there. No.
What if Johannes goes to Toronto and just explains his whole deal? Your face right now.
Johannes just picks up his whole domain and is like, this is part of Toronto now.
It's like, this is how it... Yeah.
So mad. I miss Jacob's Bell.
All right. I like those predictions. One of these days we'll update our prediction tracker.
I'm updating it slowly.
Okay, good job. Just write down your prediction here so you don't forget.
Okay.
I always tell you that, and I feel like you never do it. I'm like, I feel like that'd be easier. But all right, while she's doing that, I'm going to go over the previous discussion questions, or question, and go over some of the answers here. They're kind of long, so I might kind of phrase them. I might paraphrase stuff. But our previous discussion question was, which of your friends would you awaken and why? Violet Faith says that they can think of one friend who would want to awaken, and I might awaken him, but I'd be worried he's too impulsive for his own good. They do say for their specific traits, an acquaintance of theirs is a DM who's very good at coming up with things on the fly and is hard to surprise or mess with, so he'd probably want to know about and do well to practice. They also say they'd probably have to tell their sister what's up because there's no way they could hide magic from her. Their last thing is they say, it's kind of weird to say, but as bad as I'd be at the practice, since public speaking is a weakness, I still think I would be more inclined towards it than anyone I know well. And if any of my friends were practitioners, I'd hope they'd choose me. I have so many goals I'd want to work towards with magic as a guide. I'm rather detached from the world, and patterns and symbology are extremely my jam.
Oh, I love
like
that.
It. I do too. I'll keep reading if you're trying to type.
No, I can go to the next one.
Okay.
The next one is Sengachi. They say they'd awaken their partner in an instant. They're the kind of person I think would be a very calm and staid practitioner. And I can't think of anyone I'd rather explore the practice with, which is very sweet. That's a very sweet sentiment.
Yes. I copy pasted that, so I didn't typo.
Yes. I think that's a word. I just don't know what it means. Staid. If Sengachi needed to awaken someone,
sedate, respectable, and adventurous.
Interesting.
Like, and the example is state law firms. So there you go. Thank you, Sengachi.
Yeah, but they if they're thinking about like people they need support from and would want to awaken, that they have a pair of friends from in college who are engaged, and they'd go to them to ask them for their help. And they super support each other, which is really great. Even if there's permanent consequences involved, that they're just super tight and would definitely support each other. Sengachi
Soup's
might
tight.
awaken their mom, who is a therapist, and the Otherverse desperately needs more awakened and aware therapists. And she'd find it really meaningful to take on that role. Yeah, where's the Jessica Yamada of this story? I guess there's Dr. Mona. We got one therapist.
True, and Pale at least. Yeah, we got one.
Pact
every time I think of like Jessica Yamada, I no offense, Scott and Matt, but I just get I feel like I listen to like your podcasts for so long. I feel like I can't. I'm like I have to double check in my brain if I'm saying it correctly because like you guys always put like the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Anyway, what do they say? Like instead of Jessica Yamada, it's Jessica. Like I can't even.
They'd say Yamada.
Yamada. Yeah, Jessica Yamada. It's like, no, that's not right. Yamada.
But we also probably mispronounce things, so it's okay.
We definitely mispronounce things. Yes. Yeah. And like they're like everything sounded right, just as the wrong like emphasis, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But then Sengachi, in a cruel twist of irony, realizes that awakening one of their engaged friends would mean that he couldn't be sarcastic anymore, and that they would awaken him just for that, which is rude.
That is a little rude, but that's kind of hilarious.
Yes.
That's pretty funny. Propaganda Pagoda says the friend they speak to most would be dead or worse in under a week because he fundamentally does not understand what's spewing out of his mouth way ahead of his brain, which I can relate to. Like really hardcore. They're saying a distant friend, a former coworker who was their dungeon master for a few sessions before COVID, spends a significant amount of his hobby time theory crafting magic systems. They'd like to go to his house and do something small with magic just to let on that something scientifically improbable is going on and let him know magic is a thing, but it is costly.
I love that it's like the DMs who would be the great practitioners. That makes a lot of sense to me.
It does, actually.
Yeah. Speaking of people who would be dead or worse in under a week, my boyfriend, I'm still trying to get him to read the Otherverse anything. He's still only read one arc of Pale, but he says shit all the time, and I'm just like, you would be the worst fucking practitioner. Like, the way he, like, says things, like, so often, I'm just like, no, don't definitely commit that you're going to do the dishes tonight, because I know you're not, and you know you're not. And that's great that you want to do the dishes tonight. I'm not upset with you, but reading the story makes me be like, no.
Like, don't
just
commit.
Don't say it.
Like, we all know that that's a lie. That's funny.
Beleg Tall, last but not least, says that they are going to take the concept of friend loosely and awaken Snowdrop's tiny fan, so that they can have a coven member who is a step of everyone else on all the local schemes and conspiracies. Holy shit, Snowdrop's tiny fan would definitely be someone I would want in my...
I don't know if she would want that.
Crustable. I was trying to think of a new C word.
Like an uncrustable?
Yeah.
So there's a crust.
C word.
It's like you're part of the Crustable. That's right. We give away the uncrustable, and we keep the crust as like the barrier. You know,
the circle that binds us together.
It's the circle that binds us together. The crust, the Crustable. Which maybe if you don't like that, you know, I guess at least that means you're not going to eat it and it'll stay secure or something. I don't know.
I didn't like crusts as a child. I remember like wanting like the crust to be cut off of things. And now that I'm an adult, like, you know, like crusts are fine, whatever, I don't care. And also I can't imagine myself being the type of mom who like has enough energy to cut the crusts off of things. Like, good for moms who fucking do it, because I am already too tired and I don't have any children.
I just wish I could get my son to eat,
anything.
Fuck, he's so picky.
Miko.
Like, that's like, because I know you're supposed to, like, try to put stuff on your kid's plate, right? To at least, like, get them used to the idea. He, like, gets mad. So, like, he'll either hand it back to me just that it's on his plate. And if I put it back, he'll, like, legit throw food at me. I'm like, you a little jerk.
I like the handing it back. That's really fun.
Yeah, he tries to hand it back or like feed it back to me, which is very sweet. But then if I insist it stays there, he'll throw it. Yeah. All right. New discussion question. I like it. Pick a word that starts with C and tell us what kind of practitioners would make up that group. It'll probably be easier if you pick a word that starts with C that's a synonym to group. I mean, you could pick like...
But that's not technically part of the rules.
That's true. I mean, it's not technically part of the rule. So, you do you. If you want to make up a word, you go for it. Like Crustable. Crustable. Alternatively, I don't know why I have this in my head. Feel free to come up with a dinosaur that has a curse word in it. Like Cuntosaurus. I'd like to hear what your versions are of dinosaurs. Before we do this outro, I have to talk to you about this, Malia. So if you guys like don't want to talk about somewhat relevant stuff that actually involves me and Malia's professions, feel free to skip forward. I don't know if you've heard about this, but I'm really pissed off about it.
Is it the Wisconsin thing?
It is the Wisconsin thing.
I don't really know the details.
Okay, so basically, just to fill everyone in Wisconsin, there's a hospital, Theta Care, that had 7 out of its 11 employees. I think 3 of them are nurses and 4 of them are radiology techs. Funny enough, in interventional radiology and cardiology, which I'm not in cardiology, but I am an interventional radiology nurse. Basically, accepted a position at a different hospital that was giving I think like one nurse went over and got like a much better like pay raise and all that, and she told like her colleagues, and so 6 other people went over. They basically this hospital, Theta Care, filed an injunction with a judge, basically trying to prevent them to start working at this hospital, but they didn't do it against the employees, they did it against the other hospital. And the judge fucking granted it. Yes. So saying that like they're not supposed to fucking start their jobs. I guess legal at the hospital they're going to has said that like it's unenforceable and they should just go in on Monday anyway for their positions. But like just the fact that the judge fucking did that, it's supposed to be like 90 days or something stupid too. So, and it's like, so they're technically not supposed to work at either hospital. It's like,
judges suck.
Yeah, at least judges like that suck. Which is like, seriously? Like, I mean, are they trying to do it because it's a pandemic and because like, we've been doing the pandemic thing for a few years already now, and that is not an excuse to treat people like shit. Like and the thing is, like, they told their employer, they gave him a chance to like give him a better offer because like they gave notice in fucking December, and like they just did this like injunction like a day or 2 ago. Like then they're supposed to be starting like tomorrow, I think, their job. So, yeah. So I'm as a nurse,
especially because they're at will. They're not like under a contract to remain there for a long time.
Exactly.
And that sucks so much.
They're at will, and then they're saying, at least in the comments I was reading and stuff, that there wasn't like a compete.
There's not a non-compete clause.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like something. I'm like skimming stuff really fast. Something about like, yeah, COVID and the hospital has too many patients, and so they shouldn't be allowed to whatever the fuck. But also like,
you can't just force people
workers,
to
like fuck
off.
off.
You can't force people to work if you're not treating them well. Yes, the pandemic is crap. It sucks. However, nurses and other people in the hospital like have also been being treated like crap a lot more recently by both the public and by our hospitals that we work at. And I feel like this is a terrible precedence for one, because like, I mean, I want to know that if I decide to go to a different hospital to work or something, like they can't fucking do that. Although Texas fucking hates unions, so that's great. Yeah. But no, it just yeah, it's like they had a chance to try to retain their employees by giving them a better offer, and instead they decided to, you know, file an injunction and basically like not say that they're not allowed to work. It's a very bad taste. And yeah, I mean, if people are essential to working and to taking care of patients, which nurses are, like, you still need to treat them well to keep them there, because we're not in a slave society. You know, like, you can't force people to become nurses or doctors or respiratory therapists or techs or like physical therapists or any of that. Like, people have to choose to do that, and they can choose to work somewhere else if they don't like your offer. I'm very angry about this.
Yeah, no, that sucks a lot.
Yes. I know that this kind of just happened like basically this weekend, I think, right? Maybe Friday. I think it happened.
I think I heard about it yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe if you have class tomorrow, which I don't know if you do, but maybe sometime this week you'll talk about it with some of your law people, because I feel like this is very relevant to both of our careers.
Possibly, it's not currently relevant to either my class or to my classes.
Your courses.
I'm in a criminal procedure class, a wills and estates class, and a professional responsibility class. So
professional responsibility.
But someone might mention it.
Okay, yeah, I'd be interested to hear what people think about that, because I'm hoping that like it'll get overturned tomorrow, because I just am like, I don't understand how
Wisconsin is not fun. Although I think the Wisconsin is gerrymandered to shit. So even though it's like a purple to blue state, the Republicans have like an iron grip over the state legislature. And they like to appoint conservative justices to their Supreme Court. Wisconsin Supreme Court ideology. But I think it's maybe okay. There's a slimmer conservative majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably like conservative arguments for why this is bad, because like the market and shit. But yeah.
I don't know, especially for conservatives to be like trying to be, you know, if they're trying to be like, oh, because it's the Rona, and so you have to stay. I'm like, really? Really? You're the fuckers that have been keeping it going this long. That's stereotyping and generalizing, but it's, you know, I don't know. I'm just like, that's jacked up. Yeah. I'm upset. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of people were commenting it because, like, the hospital system I think that they were going to is Ascension Healthcare, and apparently usually they're the ones that are doing the shitty stuff. But this time they're not. So it's like, all right, the one time
it's funny.
Theta Care. Oh, this is kind of random as well, but, and sorry to keep on going on this. Hold on, let me find this real quick again. But especially for other USA listeners, if you have issues with medication to where like your insurance isn't covering your meds, there's something I just heard of. So people in the US especially that have had issues with finding like affordable prescriptions. Mark Cuban, you know, that guy who's on Shark Tank? I know, very random, but he actually opened an online pharmacy that you can get your prescriptions to. They don't take insurance, but the funny thing is most of their meds are like a lot fucking cheaper than even with insurance. Like a lot cheaper. Which if you have insurance, you might not have to worry about that, but I know there's a lot of patients and people out there who like can't afford to get their meds because they cost a ridiculous amount of money. And I was checking, I get albuterol for asthma, and like it's cheaper on there for me as well, even with my insurance. So I might have to switch over to them, frankly. They don't have insulin on there, at least yet, but they do have a lot of different things. So it might be worth to just take a look at.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. What is that called? Hold on. For some reason, the screenshot that is on there doesn't actually have the name of the company, which is not very helpful. Let me see. Sorry, more editing. Okay, it's called Cost Plus Drugs. And yeah, and you can costplusdrugs.com. Obviously do your own research into it, because I just heard about it, but I know it can be kind of life-changing for people. Because there's a lot of medications out there that are really like stupid expensive. So basically, like you can browse like the website seems pretty good. Like you can browse the type of medication, or all medication, and it just tells you like the form you're getting it in, like if it's tablet or like liquid or injection or whatever. It tells you what the retail price generally is, and it tells what their price is and how much you save. So obviously take it with a grain of salt, because it's like brand new and I haven't used it yet or anything, but it could be worth looking into, especially if you're having issues with being able to afford certain meds, because insurance companies fucking gouge you and just pharmaceutical companies can like gouge you for all that. I'm hoping they get insulin added, because that really ticks me off that like that costs so much money. Especially when like the person who discovered it and like really came up with like synthetic insulin like sold his patent for $1 so that people wouldn't have to pay a ton of money, and people still do.
Right. So,
it sucks. But yeah, I'm not trying to advertise stuff. I just think it's kind of exciting if it actually is legit, and it kind of looks legit. So costplusdrugs.com. So just look into it if you need more meds. Anyway, that was probably a lot of stuff that you may or may not have been interested in listening to. So we're going to do our outro. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a rating and review. To help support our podcast, go to patreon.com/doofmedia. If you'd like to support Wildbow as he continues to write fantastic stories, go to patreon.com/wildbow.
You can follow the pod on Twitter @PaleComparison, or send us an email at paleincomparisonpod@gmail.com. Keep an eye out for our Reddit thread in r/parahumans, where you can answer our discussion question and share your thoughts on this episode. In addition, if you would like to see all of my predictions laid out, check out our episode description for a link to a prediction tracker. And thought I'd add this in here for your information. Next episode, we will be covering chapter 6.5 and 6.6, probably. Is that right, Jenny?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, cool. I was just like, oh, we could put this in here instead of me forgetting to post it on Twitter every week.
I think that's a good idea. I like it. Could add that. Cool. Fun fact, which I really hope is true, because my son's almost 3. Humans are the most physically aggressive at around 2 years old. Seems to track to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You've met my son. You'd probably agree. All right.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, he's very sweet, but like, man, that kid just drives me nuts. But I love him. All right. Have a good week, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.